And we'll have amigos de Siancan from Mexico. We are also going to have one architect. And we would like to ask everyone to please mute to reduce the background noise.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we had Rogier's phone off. For group second, we're going to have nature-based solutions for coastal protection. The really nice, interesting presentation from Okra and from Rifi. Then we'll talk about flooding development. We have today Blue 21 and CONCAF to talk about the realities from vision to reality. Also challenges and opportunities around sargassum. And for group 5, we'll talk about solutions in the face of limited freshwater availability, focusing actually on desalination. And then on group 6, we'll talk about tools for water resilient islands. Without going without further delay, I would like to give the floor for this next part to Matthijs Bouw and Nupur Rochaduri, who are going to be presenting about working with communities on nature-based solutions for coastal areas that are resilient. Matthijs, Nupur, thank you so much for coming today. I'm going to stop sharing the screen so that you can have one-on-one with your public.
Great. Thank you so much. And let me see if I can, what I can do. I think
yes, and our team is going to highlight you.
Yeah. Allow, and then let me see if I can bring this full screen. Okay. So I'm here with my colleague Nupur, and we've brought some of the work in our portfolio that we do in not only the Caribbean but in small island developing states, also in the Pacific, to talk a little bit about the sort of multiple challenges if you're thinking about coastal resilience and climate adaptation in small island states. And so in order to start, I would like to give the floor to Nupur to talk a little bit about our work in the Pacific Islands, because we think it's relevant, but also because sometimes it's really good to look at how challenges are addressed in other places. So Nupur, please go ahead. I will do the slides.
Thank you, Matthijs, and hi everyone. Thanks for having us. So as Matthijs said, we do a lot of work in small developing island states. We've been working together as an office to try and understand, better contextualize some of the key challenges that these island contexts face. So flooding is definitely one of them, but there's several other coastal and geophysical kind of hazards that affect these emergent and established urban centers. So these are just a few screenshots of some of the regional scale studies that we've been doing in the Pacific Islands, looking at different hazard events, so tropical storms, volcanic events, earthquakes, sea surface temperature increases. So as you all know, these have compounding effects on how urban development takes place. So we've also been looking at the geophysicality of these different islands. So they're obviously very different types: volcanic high islands, composite islands, islands.
Nupur, sorry to interrupt you. It seems that the slides are stuck, or at least we are seeing a preview, a blue screen just with the logo, but it's not moving.
It's moving on our side. Let us try again and see what happens if application window.
It might have been that we were seeing the wrong screen, because it looked like it was a PDF that was being shared before.
It was a PDF, but I'm trying to understand. Are you still?
Sometimes stopping and starting again can work, but yes, it seems that
do you see the slides moving now?
I see the island advantage.
The island, okay, that's good.
Yes, they are moving again. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. So this was the first slide, so go ahead.
So we've been looking at urbanizing centers and established centers in all of these different island contexts, trying to understand where these coastal communities are actually established. And obviously these different hazards that we looked at again, the previous slide, affect these different island types, these geophysicalities very differently. And our endeavor was to kind of use these insights to try and outline some recommendations for how resilience could be achieved in with the communities that we're working with there in a more sustainable way. So again, these are just some screenshots of the different types of analyses that we've been doing, trying to understand just the physicalities of these the existing, the more established urban centres. And so we see on reef islands, linear development is very prevalent, obviously, and then in larger cities like Apia and Honiara, edge expansion, infill development, all of these are really key challenges. And so we identified approximately 38 urbanizing centres and emerging centres, in addition to these kind of historical ones, that would need this kind of analysis and this kind of in-depth study to urbanize in a way that's more resilient. So critical also to understand is how these urbanizing centres or these countries figure in the way that the Pacific Islands is growing. And so the population is set to, as you can see from this graphic, the population is set to increase exponentially in the countries that are located at higher elevations. And so, the Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Fiji, these are all of the key kind of countries that would require a larger or greater attention towards resilient urbanization. We also went, into detail looking at the elevation of critical assets in relation to mean sea level, and obviously several critical assets are located at concerning elevations. And so all of these kinds of different considerations were taken into account. And then, this regional analysis ended up informing a lot of the work that we ended up doing with the government of Samoa. So they, Apia is their capital, but as their country is growing, there is a need to decentralize some of these administrative services. And so Savaii, which is the neighboring island, the communities there required, greater access to some of the government and administrative services, in addition to things like financial aid, better support for the agricultural economy, all of that. And so we used the insights that we got from the fact that Savaii is a volcanic island, and so located in a tsunami zone, high risk to obviously volcanic eruptions and earthquakes, things like that. Used all of those insights as well as insights from the heat island analysis, as well as some data on coastal flooding, things like that, to develop a profile that would determine the most resilient ways to develop this new city on their secondary island. This is just a graphic looking at historical migration due to volcanic activity between islands, which was really interesting to understand how the community actually viewed their relationship to the land and to the sea. So this is a composite hazard profile that resulted from our analyses. And so we were able to identify hotspots that were good for development, but needed a more multi-hazard focus should development be carried out in a way that is more resilient. And these are just some, detailed kind of ideas that came out of those analyses for, the expansion of an airport that would integrate an emergency medical service center for the local community, as well as, looking at more public realm improvements like roadway, enhancements and public space along these major circulation paths. And all of this involved, a robust community engagement program to understand both how the communities view resilience to coastal flooding, but also, looking at how all of these other hazards as well, which are such a cotton part, a daily part of their lives, influence the way that they understand urbanization as well.
So one of the things that really we are learning from this project for the World Bank, where we're both looking at the very large scale and zooming into the local scale, is how climate risks intersects with a lot of other types of vulnerabilities. And we also learn to increasingly appreciate how important local cultures and lived experiences are for adaptation. Adaptation will be very different from a place like in the Netherlands, right? You really have to target also because of the sort of resources that are available, much more local challenges. And so one of the second project that I brought is a project that we did for the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency in the US, in 3 Caribbean islands, where we've been asked to provide technical assistance to local community groups to understand how to deal with climate impacts. And so what I just want to bring is basically a sort of sampling of the challenges that can be found as you start to think about the islands in the Caribbean. And this work was part of the technical assistance that we provided for the Community Change Grant Equitable Resilience Program from the Environmental Protection Agency, a program that unfortunately has died with a new administration. The first island that I would like to bring you to is an island that is to the east of Puerto Rico. It's part of Puerto Rico that's called Culebra. And in Culebra, we worked with an active women's organization and local fishermen on the climate challenges in the islands. And one of the things that we understood is the challenges of power outages, the fact that the green infrastructure is under stress from over-tourism and hurricanes and all the challenges that come that are compounded with sea level rise, and there was some issues around mobility. And in this plan, we explored the harbor area of the town with these local community groups and had conversations about the various challenges that they had. And one of them was that they felt that their natural resources, which are a big part of what gives this islands its local economy, are under stress because of a changing climate. And so in addition to thinking about lagoons and developing a sort of resilience hub in the center, as well as thinking about mobility in a different way, we, together with Haskoning, sort of rethought and developed a harbor plan which could help the local natural resources, so as the mangroves, etc., to stay in place, to provide shelter during a hurricane, as well as starting to expand the nature-based solutions that are used in the harbor to create environmental diversity and enrichment, and use a small island in the center as a neighborhood or as a center for ecological awareness and education. This sort of helping to safeguard the both fishing industry and the tourism industry in an ecologically sustainable way in the face of climate change was really important. A second project that we did was in Saint Croix, where the lagoons were under stress from sea level rise, but also land use changes. There are a couple of really valuable lagoons that were silting up because of inadequate stormwater management. And so here, together with the Department of Natural Resources, we looked at nature-based solutions and land management solutions in order to address the runoff that would go to these lagoons and make sure that they wouldn't be silting up, but that they could continue to be the nurseries for fisheries and for other activities that are so important for the island. So less coastal protection, this is a hilly island, but really managing the resources in the face of a changing climate by introducing land management and land-based, nature-based solutions proved to be a critical solution here. A third project that I would like to quickly talk about is the Bordeaux West End, where we in St. Thomas, where we worked with the Rasta farming community that was there and explored how we could help them survive a changing climate, both in terms of their agricultural practices, but also, and I see that I am at time, but also using the resources that they had to expand a resilience hub there. The West End is disconnected from the rest of the island. It's an isolated area in which these farmers form a very important a stronghold in the community. And so here we developed a resilience hub in concert with their farmers markets as a way to make sure that they could provide before, during, and after disasters the necessary services to deal with a changing climate and hurricane impacts, while strengthening their ability to continue farming in this particular area. I'll leave it here. For us, it was really important, and I think that's the big idea that we want to leave you with, is that understanding the cultural nuances and the geographical nuances in relation to a changing climate and changing coast, and finding pinpointed solutions for adaptation is going to be really critical in these type of environments. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Matthijs, Nupur. Really amazing examples. Basically what you were saying, mixing the living experience of the local communities and working within their framework of and their way of working, and really amazing. And if you can stick around for the panel discussion, I have a lot of questions and also comments, and I imagine also the public also have a lot of comments. While we transition, thank you so much. Really wonderful examples and very diverse, bringing it from the Pacific to the Caribbean. That's really fantastic. I wanted to just show that we are starting to see your reactions on menti.com. So if you can go to menti.com, and the code that my team is putting on the screen, or in the chat, which is 64905063, we would like to hear where are you coming from, also what type of organization are you representing, and also if you already have some questions for One Architecture, please go ahead and write them out so that when we are doing the panel, we can see you right away. See your questions. For this next presentation, I'm very pleased actually to be also featuring somebody that is working also from the region. Today we have with us, I'm going to share my screen. We will have with us Valerie Grant, that is a Caribbean market specialist at Fugro. And she's going to be talking about data-driven coastal resilience planning. So without further ado, I would like to give Valerie a warm welcome and thank her for being here. If we can see your, great, we're going to, excellent, Valerie. I'm going to stop sharing so that you can present. Be welcome. And from where are you joining us today?
I am joining you from Merida in Mexico this morning because I'm at a conference here today.
Oh, fantastic. And where are you usually located, Valerie?
I am located in Florida, but we work across the Caribbean, and Jamaica is my homeland.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. I just had a discussion about some Jamaican projects today, so wonderful that you are here.
Okay. Right. Everybody seen my screen?
Yes.
All right, so good morning, everyone. Today, I wanted to just tell you a little bit about Fugro and the work that we have been doing. At Fugro, our approach is really to make sure that climate and nature challenges, it starts with mapping, modeling, and monitoring. And so this framework that you're seeing on the screen really underpins what we do, from baseline conditions to modeling future risk to monitoring change over time. And so our work really provides critical insights to decision makers, helping them to address challenges and losses, as well as to make more informed and confident decisions. And so by combining expertise as well as high quality geodata, we support climate adaptation efforts in the oceans and coastal zones, and of course inland waterways. And so the visual that you're seeing on the screen really represents that integrated approach that brings together the technology, the data, the human expertise to create that safer, sustainable, and more livable world and communities and ecosystems. Well, to build an effective, as we talk about the Caribbean, to build an effective resilience in the Caribbean, we need to address different areas. And so I want to highlight 4 areas that I think is really critical for us to be examining. And these areas include the whole matter of vulnerability to climate change. And so our region is really highly exposed to threats like sea level rise, ocean and coastal erosion, and increasing natural hazards and storms that are there. These risks, I believe, really concern us. And so we need to act fast. And so there is this critical need for accurate and I believe high resolution data. And so the reality is that decision makers at all levels need better data in order to be more adaptable and make wise decisions. And thirdly, we need integrated solutions. There is a demand for it from our region. Just, traveling across the region, speaking with people here, even at the conference that we're here, because we're talking about blue economy as we were here. One of the things that keeps coming up is that we need to have data. We talk about the threat of this persistent white ribbon problem where nearshore areas are poorly mapped and they are not very well understood. And so despite being critical for our resilience and our development, they are really not understood the way they are to be understood. And so the 4th area is the fact that we really need to learn from the local and engage persons by building local capacity. And so we have to prioritize that. And so in short, to truly bridge that gap between data and building resilience, we really need to have inclusive, integrated, and locally grounded approaches that is backed by solid quality geospatial data. Just to point out some of the work that we have done in the Caribbean, the slide you're looking at shows a sampling of our work over the past few years. And these include things like our aerial mapping and also areas where we have done some geodetic work, as well as bathymetric and topographic data that has been used to support a wide range of applications across the region. What you're seeing on the screen is really showing a demonstration that we did last year at the SIDS 4 meeting. And this slide shows a shoreline change analysis that is using satellite-derived bathymetric data from EOMAP, one of Fugro's company. And by tracking the shoreline movement over time from about 2003 to 2022, we were able to visualize changes along the coast. And this kind of analysis really supports improving coastal resilience planning by identifying erosion hotspots, informing zoning decisions, and protecting infrastructure and ecosystem. And it also helps us to ensure that adaptation efforts are really grounded in what we would like to call correct exclusive economic zones, and therefore enhancing the national level decision making that should really take place. Now, we too have done quite a number of work in the Pacific, and we wanted to showcase some of that work because we believe it is applicable for our region this as well, and some of the lessons can be learned from here. So let's look at one of this example here. While it's looking for me. Some reason it doesn't seem to be having a little bit of a technical challenge. It looks like there are technical challenges all around this morning.
Yes. Yeah, it seems that it's stuck, but sometimes if we stop sharing and share again, yeah, I think the technical gods are not with us today. But it is for those of you that are in the,
Okay, let me stop sharing and share again if and see if that will work.
No, but really great presentation and nice examples.
Let's do this again. For some reason, the link it's not. One moment. This particular video that I was about to show, just one moment again for me. Yes, the technical challenges are real today. I apologize for that.
And can you tell us a little bit about the background of this project, maybe while the slides are loading?
Yes, so the background of the project is such that it is in Tuvalu, and it was a project that is done in conjunction with UNDP. And that project really, as anyone knows about Tuvalu, it's really at risk of disappearing. And because it is at risk of disappearing, then there are adaptation measures that are taking place. And so with these adaptation measures, Fugro data was used to really support a lot of the activities that is taking place, including the building of digital twins. And these digital twins are helping Tuvalu to really build up their resilience efforts at this point in time. Just a moment, please. Let's try this again, and we will.
I believe we are seeing the, yeah, excellent. Now it's full screen.
So I've given you the backdrop of that project. Sorry, the video is not playing. I am hoping that this one will go ahead and we will show you exactly what what we have done in Palau. So in this example, Fugro digitized Powell, and we showcase a 3D representation of the coast from high resolution aerial imagery and LiDAR, and with a laser sensor on the plane, and the assets to be classified. They're being displayed in green. You are seeing buildings in purple, and you're also seeing the power lines. And so to understand the coastal hazards, how they interact with the natural and built assets, we overlay layers and model outputs, for example, rain in flood hazard zone with different likelihoods of flood events. And next, we looked at the impact of how sea level rise would really affect future projections in 2025, for example, at the 200,100. And finally, we show the impact of the typhoon storms on the storm surge events and combine with sea level rise. And here we're showing where the typhoons occurred and simulate the change that would take place in future projections, which you're seeing with the pink line, for example, in 2030 and 2090. So these are some of the things that we would have done in that example. So why are we talking about some of those examples? Because we believe that they are really applicable to the Caribbean. And so as we look ahead, it's clear that many of the solutions that we have used elsewhere in the world, they can be leveraged in the Caribbean and leveraging those global insights. And also we have to be ready to adapt and to tailor those methods to reflect the Caribbean context, because we have unique geography, we also have unique governance structures, and we have vulnerabilities. Additionally, we must prioritize the stronger coastal defenses and better management of our natural assets, like our reefs and our mangroves and our seagrasses. And finally, we have to foster deeper collaboration among governments, among the local communities and scientists and technology partners to really accelerate the implementation and to scale the work that we're doing. But why does all of this matter at this more than ever? I believe that as we look at unlocking things like blue finance through things like blue bonds or nature-based investment and climate-linked funding mechanism, countries in our region really need that data. They need the models and they need the stakeholder engagement to demonstrate the value, as well as to measure the impact and to de-risk the investments. And so the lessons that we've learned from some of the projects that we've done in other regions are quite applicable. And so simply put, we want to invest in nature. We must first understand it. And there has to be that integrated data-driven approach because that's fundamental for us to be credible and for us to find investable strategies. So I would say that my call to action, our call to action from FUGRO is that let's take what works and make it work in the Caribbean. And we believe that together we can help to do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Valerie, and really impressive to see also even the information that you showed, the possibilities that what we can do with data. A lot of us remember maybe working with the earlier models, earlier GIS, early data tools, that now, you know, the frontiers of what is possible have been pushed, and there's even more and more possibilities for technical solutions to make decisions. I would like to call back to the floor Matthijs and also Nupur, because we would like to have a discussion also together with Valerie regarding these exciting initiatives that are able to help more those who are shaping the coastal regions, islands, the public that is actually here with us. And I was wondering maybe if we can read some questions from the both the Mentimeter and the chat, because I see already a question for Matthijs, and I think we may have some also questions on the chat. So the first question that I am seeing from the public is, what approach do you take to designing nature-based solutions with the community, and how do you transfer the skills for managing the design for continuity?
Yeah. that's I think really important, that continuity. We'd like to call it stewardship, right? Like as part of any design, you need to think about stewardship. You need to think about how is whatever infrastructure you design, whether it's green infrastructure or gray infrastructure, how it's operated and maintained, but also how it is adapted over time. Specifically, nature-based solutions are relatively unpredictable. They grow over time, and they just require a lot of care and constant attention, right? And in sort of scientific terms, people call that adaptive management. But in general, what we realize is that the best way to make sure that adaptive management is there is to not only make sure that things are measured and monitored and that the data is available for that. Valerie showed some great examples of how now I think real-time data can increasingly help us navigate these challenges. But also you would want to, by engaging the communities in as early a stage as possible, make sure that there is sort of local investment and care and love for these places that you try to make. And so we really believe in inclusive planning processes, not only in order to make better plans, but also to build the stewardship that is necessary to make this work. I think I started at the end. Maybe there was a sort of first question before that, but maybe you can repeat that so I can loop that in, or maybe this is enough and answers that first part of that question as well.
Well, there is a question that expands it, but I think you addressed it. So it was, what approach do you take to designing NBS with the community, and how do you transfer the skills for managing the design for continuity? Because at the end of the day, I believe what you've said also, the community is the one who will actually take this project also to maturity, and they are hopefully also the owners of the green infrastructure, of the nature-based solutions. Tell us how it works in practice with your projects.
So in practice, and like the best example is an example from an entirely different area, but I love that example, is the coastal mangrove restoration in Demak, Indonesia, where and that's done by EcoShape and a host of Dutch companies and knowledge partners, as well as Indonesian companies and knowledge partners. And what they realized there is that the mangrove belts along the coast were eroding, and they needed to be strengthened. And the way to strengthen them would be by creating bamboo fences so that settlements could settle behind that, which then gives enough ground for the mangroves to be restored. And this was happening in fishing communities and hydro or aquaculture communities that were along those coasts. And so the plan was not only developed with the local communities, but as part of the planning process and continued afterwards, a coastal field school was created, which was aimed not only at understanding these nature-based interventions, but also understanding how that could change and improve the agriculture, fisheries, etc. And with that, improve the revenues for the local fisher folk for their activities. And I think that was really important, that people saw that value. And now we are sort of exploring a sort of second phase of that project, and with a number of other communities, and using that example, but in that context, from the outside, having in some way educational materials that work locally, that help people understand what's going on and what are the types of solutions that you could think about, have proven to be really, really important. And so bringing that into workshops and creating like formats where professionals, local and internationals, as well as these local community members work together, and local government stakeholders work together is for us a key to success.
Wow, wonderful, and nice to visualize also this process, right, where the local communities, the local experts, the international experts, and I imagine also the government stakeholders are together just co-creating this initiative, because in the end they all have a buy-in and also yeah, a part of the decision process in their
Yeah.
hands. Thank you very much, Matt. It's really interesting. And Valerie, how do you see also a little bit this question? Can you tell us a little bit more about how you are using at Fulgro these data tools to empower and to position, to support communities to engage into these nature-based solutions projects? Tell us a little bit about how your journey is going with that.
So I know that Matthias spoke about the stakeholder engagement, but with us as well, we begin all of our things with that kind of stakeholder engagement, because we recognize that we really have to understand the needs of the particular region, of the particular country that we're dealing with. And so once we understand the needs, then what we do is try to match those needs with the appropriate technical solution. And so we have quite an array of solution in our toolbox. This ranges from, as we mentioned, things like our satellite derived bathymetric data, but then if it needs to be a lot more granular as we go further, then we're going to be looking at other kinds of data. We are going to be supplementing that with other institute data. And so we look at what the needs are. So it's never one size fits all, but it's it's fit for purpose solution that we present to the communities that we serve, the governments, whichever the stakeholders are.
Excellent to hear. And so it is tailor-made based on the needs of the community, because I can imagine that one island is experiencing one issue very different, in a very different way that the next island on the south maybe. And can you tell us a little bit more about...
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying that not only just because they're experiencing different issues, they may be wanting the insights for very different purposes. And so it's based on the kinds of insights that they're looking for and the purpose that they're trying to use it for.
Excellent. And one thing that I get very curious about, Valerie, when I hear the type of work and the type of tools that you guys are using at Fulgro and your team. So for example, you mentioned this, like that you are able to get better and better satellite data. Because one thing that we hear a lot with working with islands is that, you know, you don't have these huge technical departments working for the municipalities or for the counties or for the national government. So capacity is limited. So in the past, you will need a lot of surveyors and people working on the data, on the GIS. But now you're able to do even more. So if you compare to like 10 years ago or 15 years ago even, what are some of those surprising things that you say, wow, like we couldn't do this before, but now we have this tool to do this and this and that, especially now with sea level rise?
Well, I think the surprises comes, and I don't know if it's really surprises. I would just say it's just a evolution in the technology and the ability to use the technology. And those come from the fact that there are so many technological advances. So we have higher resolution data, whether that be satellites. And if we're not using satellites, then we're using aerial LiDAR, whether that be on the land side of things, or bathymetric LiDAR, bathymetric data. So whatever it is, then we again go back to the whole matter of fit for purpose, but not only just data, because we're not just about data. It's about allowing persons to get that insight. So I think an interesting part of what is there is no longer do you have to be that geospatial professional. We can take some of that off you, and you simply can ask questions to your data. So there are platforms that are there that you can ask the question and you can get the insights. So a person who does not have the geospatial background, the common person who is just wanting to get the insights from it, a policymaker who wants to get that insights can do a quick query, can get the insights. There are dashboards that give that kind of information. And with AI, then there's also chatbots that are coming and things that you can use to, in natural language, get some of that information in real time. So I think the advances is what is really impressive to me. And the fact that but I guess the surprise is that we're advancing so quickly as well. So yeah.
Wow, really nice to see this technology at work. Go ahead.
I think what Valerie says, right, is so important, is that these technological advances and the resulting cost reductions in getting specific data are so important because they allow data to be layered into whatever planning process there are. Because like I think one of the things that you find is also that like things are addressed increasingly locally. You have local problems that you want to address, and to have, let's say, the right resolution of data is just really important there, and we've advanced enormously there.
Right. So if I say, let's say that Matthijs, you're working really to work and co-create with the local communities and empowering them, positioning them, bringing them to the table to also shape together these nature-based solutions, these resilience projects. And if I say that, Valerie, you're working on bringing the best tools to make decisions, informed decisions, strategic decisions, bridging the two worlds that you are working in. Would you be saying that we're entering an era where like the use of data can really empower decision making, and bringing maybe these two groups, maybe like the expertise, the experts, and the community, the decision makers, a little bit closer together on being able to make decisions together? Is this a naive impression, or you think like this is really bringing Valerie, I see your reaction.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I would just put one tweak to the statement. I wouldn't say it's exactly the data, because you can have the data and do nothing with it. I would say it's the insights that are coming from the data. It's that information, it's that actionable insights that is really helping to bridge that gap. But you definitely need the data in order to get the insights.
Excellent. Oh, what a wonderful, and Matthijs.
Yeah, nothing to add there. I really hope that's where we're going. I feel that like working at these sort of multiple levels at the same time to do more integrated work is where we need to go.
Excellent. And I would like to read, and maybe in less than 1 minute, just some quick questions so that we can address them. But I can also imagine that on the chat, we can further engage with the public. But the first question that I have is for Valerie, from the public, actually. Are there specific digital platforms or modeling tools that Caribbean planners are using to visualize or simulate NBS outcomes? Are there any examples that you think are accessible to them?
Yes, well, one thing that we could point to, and it's still in development, is the SIDS Global Data Hub. Fugro, along with other partners, Esri, are working towards building out that data hub. Another resource is CariGeo, which is based on the Caribbean Geospatial Development Initiative. And there are others to come. So I would say stay tuned. And if there are very specific questions, then persons can feel free to connect with me. I'll be happy to get their question answered. I also see a question that was in the chat about some of the services that Fugro provides in terms of, well, I first thank the person for the compliment in terms of they have worked with us before in St. Martin, and happy to know that you're wanting to work with us again. Yes, we have land-based solutions that are there as well, and we'd be happy, just send me a note and I'd be happy to connect you with the right person to help to better understand what those needs are so that we can best direct you to how we could assist.
Excellent. And for last question, so Matthijs, how do you overcome? So there's an example of a project in St. John in the Virgin Islands in the U.S., and they are looking for socioeconomical data, income, property value, etc. But the U.S. Census does not seem to have it, and especially in these years where there's a lot of discussions about availability of census information. How does your team overcome these type of issues?
Yeah, and I'm not sure if the questioner also asks about the disappearance of data sets from US government sites, right? And then maybe the heroic efforts of a lot of scientists and people like I'm for instance, at the university where of people to make sure that those data is downloaded and still accessible, but it's increasingly a search for the right for the right data. Although in general, I think if you're talking about St. John I would love to understand better what the questioners' data challenges are. We've done quite a bit of research for our work there on the US Virgin Islands, and maybe I put my email in the chat. Maybe he can reach out, or they can reach out, and I can see if we can help them.
Oh, excellent. Thank you very much. And any concluding thoughts and that you would like to leave for our public that is joining from the Caribbean, from the many different countries? Yeah, based on how you're seeing climate adaptation, resilience for coastal areas. I'll let Valerie start.
You're muted, Valerie.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, you are muted.
Sorry. I would like to say that this climate, we don't talk about it in a vacuum. This is our lived reality. You know, this is not a headline for us. It never has been. And because of the fact that it is never has been, it's something that we take very seriously. And so I would say that we have to help ourselves, because nobody's going to do that. And in helping ourselves, we need the right data so that we can derive the right insights, so that we can know what measures to apply to better adapt to something that is not going anywhere, as we've all seen. And so it's important for us to recognize whatever technologies, whatever tools are there, and use that to assist us along the journey.
Thank you, Valerie. Matthijs.
I think we should go to the breakouts.
Yes.
I think a lot of interesting stuff has been said, and I really appreciate Valerie for your insights. But thank you all.
Thank you very much. So now we are going to share the screen so that we can talk about these breakout sessions that we will have. We divided the group actually into 6 groups. The first one we have is Resilient and Participatory Coastal Project. So you can see there Matthijs and his team, and Amigos de Ciancán that are coming from Mexico with Diana de la Cruz. For group 2, if you're working on nature-based solutions for coastal protection, we'll have their Okra architects, Martin Tanaut, who's actually done a lot of really nice projects here in the Netherlands that we are actually benefiting from. Then we will have from Rifi, Leon Haynes. They'll talk more about their solutions. For group 3, we'll have floating development. So from adaptive vision to a reality. There we will have Blue 21 and CONCAF to show some projects. And group 4 will have a conversation on sargassum, very important topic in the region. For group 5, we'll have desalination solutions in the face of limited freshwater availability. And there we'll have IHE Delft, El Dr. Sergio Salinas, and then Elemental Water Makers, Lucas Falah. And for group 6, we'll have a smart solutions for coastal monitoring, and there we'll have Alex Kaune and Jason Van Pletsen from respectively Mares and Upscape. For this part, we're going to ask everyone to look at your controls on Zoom, where the buttons are, with all the mute, the camera, all of that. And we ask you to look, before you do anything, to look at your name in the participants list and click on your name and hit the 3 little dots and rename, because we want to know in which room you would like to be placed in. For those who are working with a fairly recent version of Zoom, you are going to see that you can actually, if you go at the bottom on your controls, there will be breakout sessions options. You can click on the squares, and on the squares, you can actually, there's a window is going to appear that will let you select in which room you want to see. So we are now opening the breakout sessions. And if you can start clicking on which room you would like to attend. So just to recap it, we have group 1, resilient and participatory coastal projects, 2, nature-based solutions for coastal protection, 3, floating development from adaptive vision to reality. Group 4 is sargassum. Group 5, desalination solutions. And group 6, smart solutions for coastal monitoring. We do, for this part, we want to make it very interactive. So we do encourage you, if you can, to turn on your camera so that you can be present, and also to discuss as much as you like about also your projects. For those who maybe are working on the background, you can keep your camera off if you like and continue doing what you're doing. But we'll see you on the other side. And for our colleagues who are moderating, we are going to be coming back in 30 minutes. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for the nice collaboration on the other side. I see some smiling faces, which is great. I hope we were not too disruptive of the discussion by closing the breakout sessions, but I hear that there were a lot of good conversations, maybe good examples, good inspiration. So for this part of the session, we're going to ask representatives from each group to give us a small glimpse of what was the discussion about, especially for those of us who were maybe interested on attending a topic and couldn't because we were in another session that was more relevant to our work. I'm very curious to hear a small round of how did things go on the breakout rooms. And if we don't have actually an official person, I would like to even ask maybe that the moderator can give a brief recap on how did it go. Shall we start first with group 1, resilient and participatory coastal projects? I will ask Machtel Hosensen to tell us a little bit more, how did it go?
Yes, thank you, Janet. Indeed, we did not choose anyone to summarize what we talked about, but I can give a short overview. We mostly talked about, well, first, Diana de la Cruz from Amigos de Siancan gave a short presentation about what Amigos de Siancan does in Quintana Roo in Mexico, which was very interesting and very also good to see some real life examples of how community engagement is something that is really important, and also really something that can make a project better. And we mostly talked about community engagement and how to sort of involve communities, also different communities, in this implementing these projects. We talked about the gathering of data, scientific data, measurements, for example, in measuring water quality, and how the communities can be involved in this, to also get a better grasp on what the project is actually doing. And I just want to cut it short there, because otherwise the story will be too long. But that is in very short what we discussed in the breakout session. Thank you.
Thank you, and fantastic to hear about these highlights, and really nice that the conversation was able to move also forward to expand. Thank you, Machtel. Now I would like to give the floor to Irene to tell us a little bit, how did it go with the nature-based solutions for coastal protection group?
Yes, so we had 2 lovely conversations with Rifi and Okra. The main questions involving our session were about funding, and there was the potential possibility of scaling projects for them to then adapt more to like the budget of the country and so on. So with some positive ideas regarding that, there was also some discussion regarding the data collection that was done for their projects and potential collaborations with other companies. And also the concept of time and how long it takes for the project to see actual like progress. And that also like varies depending on the project. Some results were found in like less than 6 months, and others, of course, it's ongoing. So those were the main topics of discussions in our group.
Thank you. Yeah, funding can be quite such a crucial, the financial part could be so crucial for the development of these NBS, especially because they're long-range projects that although they bring a lot of benefits, the financial part should be structured well and smart, and we're all learning about it. So thank you very much for this reflection. Now I'm very curious about floating development, group 3 with Oliver Blackett.
Yes, thank you, Janet. So, Group 3, floating structures, floating solutions. Of course, it might not be a topic that everyone knows a lot about. So, we were in a relatively small group and we briefly spoke about the technologies that the two companies applied that did their presentation, Roemer Goos and Vicky Lin. Both of them had a lot to say about what their own initiatives do, the kind of projects that they run, the prospects they have for the future. But about floating solutions itself, we spoke briefly about the history, what the place of the Netherlands, perhaps other parts of the world, the technology of floating structures itself, how that has increased over the years and how it continues to do so, and where the technology, the strategy itself stands in the world. And lastly, also talking about climate extremes, how despite the high level of technology already being applied, that there are still some uncertainties regarding climate extremes and how they mitigate that. All in all, a very interesting session.
Thank you very much, Oliver. We used to think about floating development as this pie in the sky thing, and now it's really becoming more and more a reality and maybe an adaptive alternative. So very much thank you for the recap, and so exciting to see that Blue 21 was here, and also the CONCAV, two ends of the spectrum, right? From the vision part, from the research applied piloting of this, and also from Roemer at CONCAV that is already trying some of these, the how. So thank you so much. This sounds really, really nice. So on group 4, I would like to give the floor to Wendele van Wiele, who is here from the Embassy of the Netherlands in Mexico and Cuba, who gave us really nice update on developments. Please, Wendele.
Thank you so much, Janet. Yes, so a short recap. In our group, we discussed the problem and the opportunities of sargassum, of course, closely linked to climate change with changing wind and current patterns, but also just due to a lot of nutrients in the sea, our own problems. I think the main conclusions were Ana Lopez Contreras gave a presentation on the study that she is doing and on the work that she's doing in Bonaire from Wageningen University, where they are really collaborating with different stakeholders to see how can we use sargassum, amongst others, for agriculture. But I guess the focus also was in our conversation, how can you valorize sargassum? And I was happy to share some input from Mexico, where we see that there are more than 100 uses identified for sargassum. But we also see that at the moment, the biggest challenge is how to collect it at open sea and how to make sure that that value chain can develop itself. And that has to do with volumes. We expect this year that Mexico will be bothered with over 500,000 tons of sargassum. So we're talking about really huge volumes, and therefore valorization in terms of biogas or even biofuel has a big potential. And of course, if that stream is organized, other uses can be identified and further developed as well for agriculture, but also for building blocks or for cosmetics. So I guess at the moment the focus is really how can we collaborate with companies, with knowledge institutes, and also in between the Caribbean to learn from each other. And we see that Mexico is really taking important steps in adjusting, for example, regulations to enable collection at open sea. And I guess that's going to be really a game changer in developing this value chain. So back to you, Janet.
Thank you very much. Very impressive developments and yeah, a lot of opportunities on this, but you also said it is still remaining a challenge. So maybe this is an area where public-private partnerships should work together, and really nice that we can have a community like this that we can see what Mexico is doing in one area, what Curaçao, what the Dominican Republic is doing to learn from each other, because we're dealing a little bit with the same monster. So nice to have this collaboration. Thank you very much for the great update. I would like to give the floor now to Group 5, desalination solutions in the face of limited fresh water. Who was the spokesperson for this team?
Hi, Janet. So as Melissa was moderating that session, so we had a very lovely discussion, starting off with very good presentations from both of our presenters. So we managed to pick someone from the crowd who will be giving a summary of the lovely discussion that we had. So over to you, Dinara.
Hi, yeah, so we were looking at like future water stress issues and the role that seawater desalination can play as a drought-proof water source. But this will be like in conjunction with other solutions such as reducing water usage, reducing leakages, and fostering like water reuse within the community. I thought it was really interesting understanding the impact of brine, which is a resulting product of desalination, and understanding how when it's released into the ocean, it will diffuse into the water to limit environmental impacts, but also understanding how other disposal methods can play in, such as diffusers, to help further minimize that impact. I also thought it was really interesting, the idea of solar desalination to improve the energy efficiency of desalination technology at a small to medium scale, and to help like meet the challenges that desalination poses in terms of its reliability, pollution, and expensive nature. I particularly found it really interesting, the idea of using solar desalination as part of a hazard management protocol, so that it can easily be like utilized and dispersed to communities if they aren't able to access the water, and to be able to get fresh drinking water from the sea using solar desalination technology.
Wonderful, wonderful to hear, and nice to see also the evolution of these technologies, because in the past, one comment about desalination was always the energy issue, but now we see that there are better and better technologies, and now even with solar desalination, it's even a better possibility as well. And also great to hear that also there was discussion on even more solutions as well. For last but not least, I'm really curious how we went with the group on a smart solution for coastal monitoring. Nice to see that there was a nice team of Mares and Upscape. So who was the spokesperson for this team?
That would be me, Janet.
Excellent. Arjen, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I think we had a very nice conversation. It was a small group. We had maybe 10 people at the start of it. So we did a quick round of introductions, which actually immediately paid off nicely. Jason van Pletsen was there from Upscape, talking about their coastal monitoring equipment, anywhere from data monitoring to time-lapse series, specifically understanding coastal conditions and various water criteria. Related to, of course, data management and alert services to end users. Similar type of setup for Alexander Kauner from Mares. They are dealing specifically with algae bloom detection. Also using monitoring equipment to translate into data and then into services that can be used, in this case, for customers on the tourism side to get a better feel for algae blooms that are popping up, and to give them some forecasting information about timing of that and possibility of that actually making it to land. I think that was really interesting, especially because we talked a little bit about the alert services and also putting the data into the hands of users and really bringing it down to the field level. We talked about that before. Data is data, but if you don't do anything with it, what does it do for you? So we talked a little bit about data versus insights and what people need from the data. And I was always also very happy to see some very active participation from the group, University of Miami. Larissa was there, talked a little bit about data and coastal monitoring in the context of port development. Gabriela Villagra was there, looking specifically at the agricultural angle of having rainfall and weather data available, and that sort of morphed into a discussion about who owns the data and if you can share the data. So it was really nice. We explored some small avenues. I think Jason and Alexander from the respective presenters are actually going to be in contact with each other to see if they can benefit from each other's services. Also some nice contribution from Andy, a lecturer at the Hogeschool in Rotterdam. And they have some projects ongoing with universities in South Africa, in this case, where Obscape also has offices and projects. So all in all, some nice initial connections. Everybody exchanged information, and yeah, I guess the money is rolling in.
Excellent. Thank you, Arya. Nice, really detailed recap. That's really helpful. I feel like I was there. But and actually, this is precisely why we, thanks to the embassies of the Netherlands in the Caribbean, would like to do that, because we want to make these links between our groups that are not so separated. Actually, I see that there's a lot of cross history and cross connections between the Netherlands and the Caribbean. So it's really nice to see also that we can use these spaces and to network and to see, you know, that we are working maybe in complementary ways as well. So great to see that that was able to happen, this synergy exchange in your group, Arjen. Well, we are coming to the close to the end of our session today. I really thank you all for sticking with us. Also, despite the technical challenges that we faced, we had said that we had a really nice lineup, and I'm very glad that we were able to bring our groups together to share about this really key time and opportunity to work together on water in the Caribbean. I would like to give a special thanks to the team who actually worked on this behind the scenes on this. With this, we will conclude our session. A special appreciation to the embassies of the Netherlands in the Caribbean. This slide is actually on the chat because we realize you have to first see your flag and then find the email. So please, if you're from any of the islands that we're showing, and not only islands, but also Suriname, Guyana, Mexico, Belize, if you're from any of the countries that are shown and you have an idea for a project collaboration, or you would like to connect with the right party in the Netherlands who's working on something that you've seen or heard today, please stay in touch with us. Also with your local embassies who can also help make the links. We are all here to serve and to help you connect. If you do not see your flag there, but you are interested in connecting with some Dutch expertise, or even like a Caribbean expertise on the topic that you've seen today, please get in touch with us at the email caribbean@nwp.nl. Well, thank you everyone for your engagement today. Thanks to the embassies for through which we were able to do this session. We hope to find opportunities to actually do this again in the future and expand on further topics, because when we ask our embassies what type of topics are relevant to our Caribbean, where the Netherlands has a good track record and good offer and good experience for collaboration. There were many topics, and these are just a couple that we have touched. And from the team of Netherlands Water Partnership, we're very glad to have had you here today. So thank you for exchanging, and please look at your inbox, add us to your Safe Senders list if that is good with you, so that we can actually send you maybe in the future if there are any other events that are relevant to your topic, and we can see you. Now for this part, before we close off, we are going to take a group photo so that we can have a little memory of this session. Also for those of you who would like to request a certificate of completion or participation, we did give an email. Please email us, and they will be emitted within the next 2 weeks. So please give us a little bit of time. But thank you, everyone. It's been really a lovely session, and I hope that we can do more. We can find ways to continue to partner up, and please that you see the Netherlands as your partner in this adaptation challenge. I heard someone trying to say something, so please, if somebody wanted to say some final comments, we are here. Otherwise, have a good rest of your day in beautiful Caribbean, and also in the beautiful Netherlands, which is a little bit windy today, as usual. Hope you have a good dinner time. I think we broke the golden rule of the Netherlands to not eat after 6 p.m. So my double apologies for today. But sargassum, sea level rise, these are really big topics to make an exception today. So have a wonderful rest of your day. We're taking some photos so you can smile. And yeah, we'll leave the chat open so that you can exchange and continue to exchange numbers. So if you were on an inbox conversation, feel free to still engage with each other. But lovely to have seen you today, and let's keep the conversation going.
Thank you, everybody. Ciao, ciao.
Everyone,
Ciao.
bye. Ciao, ciao. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you.